Hi, I'm Christine with Lone Oak Farm, and today I'm going to take you on a little tour through my seed starting setup. There's 4 components to think about when you're going to start your seeds inside: equipment, soil, water, and light. When I first started doing this over 20 years ago, I had wooden shelf that was built, and it had 3 shelves so it could accommodate 2 4-foot lights, and I used that until basically it just fell apart because of being moved in and out of the house so many times. I started it in an extra bathroom, in a hallway, in an extra bedroom, by a back door. We built this back porch on a little over a year ago, so this is my second spring to be able to start my seeds out here, and it's amazing. We used this one last year, and although I really like this one, it's not 4 foot long. So the lights hang off the end, and I just put a board on it so I could still use it. We found this one this year, and this one is my favorite. And if I get any more, I will try to get one the same size as this one because it accommodates the 4 foot lights perfectly. The equipment, we also have, this is what I start my seeds in. I bought these over 20 years ago when I was first starting out because I was trying to correct every problem that I was having. It has a bottom reservoir, and the styrofoam just started leaking last year. So the plastic I put in the bottom is just so that it holds water. And then there's you put the water down in the bottom, and this sits on top of it. And this wicking fabric hangs over the edge just enough to set in the water. And you put your seeds in this, the soil in it, the seeds, and it keeps it perfectly watered. They don't make those anymore. I bought those from Garden Supply Company, and they're my favorite because they're so deep. But they're showing wear. Just last year was the first time I have seen them in the stores. I saw them in a farm store, and this year they have them in all of them. I've seen them in Walmart and Lowe's, and they're becoming a hot ticket item, and they're $20 a piece, which makes them a little expensive, but they're well worth it. They keep the soil perfectly watered, and when you have seedlings, when they're just starting out, you can't let them dry out. They cannot take being dried out at all. This keeps them perfectly watered. And actually, I don't have problems even starting hard seeds like lavender. It's a hard one to grow from seed, and I don't have any problems with it. That's actually what this is here. When I start them out, I let them get to about this stage. These really they're big enough they need to be transplanted. And I just take a spoon or a small trowel, and I just dig them up and put them into other pots at that stage. When they get a little age on them, they can take being dried out just a little bit. They can take it a little bit better. What do I put them in? There's one out that I left out so you could see it. They sell these trays that have these in them already, and I have used those, but they're pretty delicate. I've had people save their used ones for me. You can buy these little plastic trays, just the empty ones, for $1 to $2 anywhere. I've used, let's see, you can see it right here. I went to a wedding, and they had caterers that came in, and they brought up everything in great big aluminum pans. And I took some of the clean ones home, and I've used those for several years. So that's an option. But this one over here and this one I've had these probably the longest, but they're kitty litter pans. it was one year that I just could not find anything and I was desperate. And I think it was like in January. It was before they put the gardening stuff out. And I bought several kitty litter pans. They're showing wear now because I left them in the greenhouse last year when it got hot and I shouldn't have done that. But these pots here are probably my favorite. Ooh, let's see if we can get one that's not so dirty. These are just plastic Dixie cups. These are my favorite by far. I used to write the names on them. You can do that. I just put a hole in the bottom. Just don't use the paper ones because the paper ones will disintegrate when they've been wet for a couple days. They're just plastic ones, but they're cheap, and I've actually reused these for several years. When I mark my seeds, when I start them, you can see I've used different things, but the cheapest thing I've found that I really like, these are just spoons, just plastic spoons that I've wrote on with a permanent marker. Let's talk about these really quick. I do use some peat pots. I try not to use anything that I can't reuse over and over. Lupins or lupines is what these are called. It's a perennial. They do not like to have their roots disturbed. So I do start these in peat pots and squash and zucchini. So for the most part, I try to get stuff that I can reuse over and over. I'm going to talk about soil next. When you're starting your seeds in the beginning, you need a soil that's light and fluffy and it drains good, but it holds water. You have to have a good seed starting mix. This is the only thing I could find early in the season. Last year I used this thing called Pro Mix, and I really like it. But the important part is that there is no fertilizer in this. The ones that say feeds up to 6 months, you don't want to use those because there's too much fertilizer for these little seedlings here. When I start mine, I always use the stuff that says seed starting mix. I get the best results from those. I've always been on a budget, and I know most of you are too, but don't skimp on your soil. I bought this. I will not give my opinion on it because I don't like it as well. My favorite is Miracle Grow, and it's light and there's no chunks in it. This has chunks in it, but I already bought it, so I'm going to end up using it. You can see the little pots around here, it was in January and I needed to transplant stuff and they did not have soil anywhere. So I bought one bag of this cheap soil that it's just the only thing I could find. And this is what you get. You get what you pay for. I got fungus gnats, and these are just little bait pots that they are working. I am getting rid of them, but don't buy the super cheap soil. It's just not worth it. The watering, that's why I use these, is because they water them perfectly. These other ones I water them when they get dry. You can tell. The lighting, these 4-foot lights. When I first started out, I started using the ones with the very delicate long bulbs in them. And I did buy these special expensive grow light bulbs to go in them one year, and I didn't see a difference at all. So I just bought the regular lights. You can just use regular lights. These are actually the new LED lights because they have quit making the other ones. These are just the LED ones that have come out this year, and I like these a lot better. The ones with the bulbs tend to heat up, and so you cannot let your plants get anywhere near them or touch them because it'll burn the leaves. These do not light up at all, do not heat up at all, so I don't have to worry about that as much. I do try to keep them away from them a little bit, but sometimes it just gets away from me, and they do. And I also, twice a day, I come through here and spray everything to keep the humidity up. And with the old bulbs, since they were hot, you couldn't spray. This I can just go through and spray, and I don't have to worry about the lights at all. I'll tell you a little bit of what I've got growing. I've got some things that are in the big pots. Those are, I'm overwintering from last season. And believe me, this is not even a portion of it. I have tables set up at 3 windows in the house of just basically houseplant kind of size. And I've just done that recently because you couldn't walk in here anymore. But I have bay leaf, and this is rosemary, and this is a pineapple that I started from a cutting from the grocery store a couple years ago. It's probably gonna need a new pot this year. This whole tray are cuttings of a plant that I absolutely adored last year. I'm trying to get the one that has the bloom on it. And it had these wonderful little flowers, and I loved it. It's kind of a shade plant, but anyway. And I have the roses. I started all of these roses from cuttings last fall, and the coleus is from cuttings. I had the best success this year. Most of them are marked, but there's one even blooming. And these 2 are the last 2 I have that need to root, and I'm not sure they're going to make it, but. Okay, well, do you want to go out to the greenhouse now? I'll give you a tour of that really quick. Okay. And this is my greenhouse. It is a dream come true for me. It's roughly 19 by 8 something, I think. It's custom built to fit these windows. It's not a standard size. I designed it to use all these windows that I salvaged from a house they were getting ready to tear down. And I love the way it looks. The bottom is siding from yet another house they were going to tear down, and we salvaged that too, along with the door. Let's go inside. There is a brick pathway down the center. These are the bricks that I really didn't want to use out in the pathways. So this was perfect in here. I'm going to put this with his friend. Okay, there are 2 beds all the way along the bottom, and it was designed so that I could use this space to grow stuff in, like in the winter, like spinach and lettuce and kale and stuff like that. Stuff that didn't need a pollinator so much, but I didn't get around to using it this year. I had too much going on. These shelves will fall and collapse completely to the wall, so they're completely out of the way. So far, I just moved these out here like 4 days ago. But we have broccoli and cauliflower and some of the perennials. You can see that these do not look wonderful. And this is that soil that I bought that I did not like. But I'm starting to feed it a little bit, and they are starting to look better. And this is my new thing to grow. Every year I try to pick one thing, something I haven't grown before, and give it a shot. And I'm starting my onions from seed. And I started these in the beginning of January, and they're not going to be horrible size, but I really think I should have started them in December at least, because they still got a couple weeks. So yeah, go onions. Maybe they'll be big enough. So this is how I do it. This is, if you like what you see, subscribe and like the video, and I will be doing more videos throughout the summer, the spring and summer actually, and talking about what I plant and when I plant it and basically how much I get, what my positives, my negatives, everything I do right, whatever I do wrong, and what I harvest from it all, and how I harvest it and keep it up. So if you're interested, subscribe. Thanks.